Kamala's high crimes at the border. That's the focus of tonight's angle. So as I said, she's hitting the border, hoping to turn the page on her reputation as an open border zealot. But instead, the book was opened to reveal the stomach-churning truth about the criminal element she welcomed in. In response to a congressional request for information, ICE revealed that more than 13,000 illegal aliens convicted of murder are now in the United States. Oh, and they're not in custody. More than 1,800 have been accused of murder as well. Nearly 16,000 have been convicted of sexual assault. But the Harris campaign is out with a new ad celebrating her border cred.
Kamala Harris has never backed down from a challenge. She put cartel members and drug traffickers behind bars, and she will secure our border.
Yes, someone got paid huge money to produce that ad. They really think Americans are that stupid? Yeah, that's what they think. Now, her role as California's AG mostly involves state-level crimes, not big cartel cases. And News Nation notes that her claims about jailing gang members for cross-border smuggling also seems inflated, because her cases mostly involve local drug offenses, not international smuggling operations. And in the Tucson sector where she's speaking today, under Harris and Biden, Customs Border Protection logged 1.2 million, as they call them, encounters since they took office. Now, during Trump's 4 years in office, almost 1 million fewer came in, or 246,000. Bill Malugin will give us key details and the total numbers coming up. They're truly shocking. Now, this has already devastated cities and towns across America, and there's no other conclusion to draw except that Biden and Harris and Mayorkas conspired to intentionally subvert America's sovereignty and the rule of law. Look, they believe borders are immoral. Oh, unless they're Ukraine's. They want an unending torrent of cheap labor flooding into the United States. And this is key, they want to change the electorate. Yeah, Elon Musk is right. Now, if this isn't impeachable conduct, I don't know what is. And I said this years ago, by the way. How is this not a high crime, high crimes and misdemeanors? Americans are dying because of these policies. And remember back in 2019, Democrats impeached Donald Trump based on what he said on a phone call with Zelensky. Now, Democrats spent countless man-hours, untold amounts of taxpayer money on a sham proceeding meant to hobble his presidency and affect the campaign. And the catalyst, let's not forget, were Ukrainian apologists working in the White House. Yet Joe and Kamala fling open our borders to millions of foreigners. They fast-track them into our communities. They destroy local cultures. They strain already strained budgets. And all along, we find out they've tried to hide the truth about the criminals that they allowed to walk right in and brutalize us. Again, I ask, how is that not a high crime in and of itself? The families of the victims who Biden and Harris have left behind probably have another word for this. I would imagine the word treason is on their minds. Now look at these faces. They've been arrested for everything from rape, murder, carjacking, robbery, domestic assault, DWI. None of them should have been here. And Harris's empty border rhetoric tonight does nothing to change the suffering endured by these families.
The horrors that my daughter suffered. And it's because of these open borders.
They are nothing but monsters who are predators, and those are the kind of individuals that we so openly let in this country. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and every Democrat who supports these open border policies are complicit in the deaths of 300,000 innocent Americans, including my son, Weston.
Now, it took ICE, by the way, about 6 months to get back to Congressman Gonzalez when he requested this information. But Harris has been so intent on keeping this out of the news that she won't even speak to her own administration's border chief. And she didn't speak to the last Border Patrol chief either.
I've never had one conversation with the president or the vice president for that matter. And so I was the chief of the Border Patrol. I commanded 21,000 people. That's a problem.
But pretending there's not a crisis of your own making is not a strategy, Madam Vice President. It's a tacit admission of failure. The Border Patrol, by the way, it doesn't really need more resources. What it needs is a president who believes that it's the fundamental duty, really the first duty of a president, to secure our borders. And her actions over the past 3.5 years, that's all we need to know about her belief in our system and our sovereignty. If stopping fentanyl at the border was a priority, other nations would have been put on notice by Kamala Harris. Mexico would have been warned of dire trade consequences as they were under Trump. If it didn't, like stopping human trafficking, is that a priority for her? If they really cared about children that they now use as pawns, they would have kept Remain in Mexico in place. But instead, on day one, Joe and Kamala dismantled every effective Trump border policy that was in place and that kept America safe. And by the way, I got to say this again. The idiotic so-called bipartisan border bill that Jim Langford and company tried to ram through, that died in the Senate, and Harris loves to cite this. It was such a farce that its only sponsors released it on, 48 hours notice. It was 370 pages long, by the way. Right before the vote, they finally released the text. And all you need to know about that legislation, again, that Kamala Harris will cite, is it gave CBP a paltry $7 billion in additional funding. Ukraine got $60 billion in the so-called border bill. So Americans are tired of butt-covering politicians in both parties. We know that. They want solutions. And in stark contrast to Harris's last-minute border choreography that we're going to watch tonight, Donald Trump is appealing to the pragmatic core of American voters.
I will send Congress a bill to ban sanctuary cities in the first day that I become president. I will end catch and release, and I will restore Remain in Mexico. We will seal the border. We will stop the invasion, and we will begin the largest deportation of criminals.
And he will. Immigration should be to our national benefit. It should not be used as a political strategy to juice the voter rolls or as a source of cheap labor to drive down American wages. So we can't expect Americans to keep opening up their wallets to protect the world when leaders refuse to protect us at home. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.